I mean, like in South Africa, my race is called colored, and it's a very stressful term to use in America because I know it's a derogatory term.
Right.
But I mean, that's what we are called in
Right.
South Africa.
Right.
If Tyla wanted to use the word colored, that's good on her. Black Americans are just not going to engage with it. I have people telling me, oh, you need to educate yourself about being colored. No, you're not going to Jim Crow my black ass. She could take her ass back to South Africa where they got that apartheid going on. Go back there. It's okay. Take your colonized ass back there and let them call you colored. I will never take advice from a South African. Understand this. When more people realize that black Americans, we accept a lot of people in American music because we love to see other black people do good, even if they are not from this country. But the moment that you try to be funny in our face and play identity politics, we still have the key to the gate. We still have the key to the gate. We still own the keys. She tried to play identity politics. The people around her tried to play identity politics, and they lost the game. I'm sorry to tell you. People talking about something, we need to educate ourselves about being called colored. Understand, you must not understand how America works, because the moment that black Americans open up that door to be called colored, guess what's coming behind there? Because you give them an inch here, they will take a mile. You're not going to Jim Crow us.
The lights go up, fans cheer, but something went horribly wrong. Taylor Globe-trotting South African superstar drops her latest album, and it flops. Because a single word, colored, sparked a backlash so fierce. Black American fans began to pull away. Was it ignorance or identity? Stick around to find how one misunderstood label shook her rise.
How come this whole stuff with Tyla is not just xenophobia?
Tyla barely sold freaking 4,000 copies in her first week for her new EP because of the disrespect she displayed towards black American people.
I've done my Googles. She posted a video on TikTok. She said, I'm a coloured South African. By the way, we don't say that in the UK either. It's a word that if you say here, you're in trouble. She posts that, and then it blows up. And then, like, for example, on this news article, some said, we are not going to call her coloured here, and if she personally demands it, her career will end before it even begins. So the anger is sparked at her posting on TikTok, which is an international marketplace. It's an international marketplace. And so now she has to come to when she comes to America, what happens? What's the rule? Like, I understand that you don't want her to say it, and you don't want to describe her that way, but what's the... This is so weird! Okay, so further Googles have shown that it's because of the interview that she did on The Breakfast Club.
School me on these debates that they be having about your identity as a South African colored person. What does that even mean?
Let's not get it twisted. That's a poor move. I'm not surprised she can't answer it. She's 22 years old. Yeah, no doubt that a 22-year-old woman who's at this point only really known for one song in her life hasn't got, like, a prepared statement for a question she didn't know was coming. I'm not surprised about that, but ultimately, it's a poor move. But the only reason they have decided to ask her that question on The Breakfast Club is because of something she said on TikTok, which is an international marketplace! Okay, I did further Googles, and it turns out that, like, no one's selling. None of these black women, even the American ones, aren't selling, so I don't know if this is all on Tyla, really.
To everyone in the diaspora that keeps disrespecting black Americans, what have we learned from this?
I think we've just learnt about American exceptionalism. That's it. Where do we rank? Where does my mother's blackness rank in terms? You know, her family are Jamaican. She was raised here in the UK. Like, where does she rank in the order of blackness that's allowed to own their black? What the hell is going on with everybody?
So much lost in translation as to how Tyla not saying she was black in America led to her making black Americans feel extremely disrespected, which led to South Africans feeling disrespected because they think Americans already think they're the center of the world and then colored people exist. And you see how messy it got? So with all of those things, that's why this conversation is happening. Tyla discourse has resurfaced once again online because Tyla's EP sales were announced that she sold roughly 3,000 copies of her EP the first week it came out. And this gave rise to people sharing their thoughts on Tyla and how she is disliked in America by the Black American community, and therefore her album sales were low. I want to add a different perspective to this conversation that I haven't seen had online, and that is one of the music industry failing to push Black artists, coupled with Tyla's team not understanding how to market Tyla effectively to a Black American audience. coupled with South African fans and their presence online, and Black American people, their presence online, and these two groups not knowing anything about each other. We have done ourselves a huge disservice by eliminating the term and phraseology of one-hit wonder. We've had several one-hit wonders throughout our lives, and that was a specific thing in music. You either had 1 to 3 songs and then you were done. I'm not calling Tyler a one-hit wonder, but that mentality has left people's minds where they don't understand that someone can enter music, have a massive song, and then they've really done nothing to support the elevation they've had. And in Tyla's case, her team hasn't really done the work to promote her effectively in a way where she resonates as a real human to Black Americans. Now, if we look at someone like Rihanna, for example, because Rihanna and Tyler are very similar in a lot of ways. Rihanna was marketed to Americans as this Caribbean girl, and very quickly she became Black, right? She has always said that she was Black, but she is Black, and she's from Barbados. Very quickly understood that she needs to align herself with Black American, especially Black American women. Same goes for a slew of mixed race artists we have of African ancestry. They are always understand that they are Black in America because America is the land that they're in. Tyla came to America. Americans didn't go seek Tyla in South Africa and are asking Tyla to be Black in South Africa. She came to America. So to come to America and not understand how identities and identity politics work here, and then when asked if you are Black, you turn to your PR and say, I don't want to talk about it. You're digging yourself in the hole deeper and deeper and deeper. Normani, Chloe, Haley, Coco Jones are a few of the new artists that we have out now that their album sales are very weak as well. And why these artists, I've seen a lot of comments talking about these artists are Black. They're American. So there's never been a discourse or confusion as to who they are, how they identify, and how they align in America. So there's always going to be this thing with Tyla that people are waiting to pounce on because essentially she was marketed to Black people and Black people consumed her music because her music is good. I'm a Tyla fan. I think her stuff is great. This is more about the branding around her. I think when you essentially lack that understanding of your core base in America, in any country you're in, you run the risk of losing them.
Tyla's EP completely flopping with only hitting like 4,000 sales, I think, this week should be the biggest lesson that you can ever learn if you are someone who is trying to grow a brand or a business in any capacity, okay? She is a great example of what happens when you intentionally build up an audience because you think it's profitable, right? Like she has a huge or had a huge Black American audience within the genres that she creates music. I mean, she had one of like Water was like one of the biggest songs, I think, what was that, last year? To now dropping her EP and it completely flopping after she made comments and doubled down on what the Black American community felt as disrespect and alienated her core audience. The worst thing that you can do as a brand is to alienate your audience, is to switch up after you have already profited off of them. And I think that's one of the main things or the main reasons why Black Americans chose to just stop consuming Tyla is because of some of those comments that she made. And this is a mistake that a lot of brands and influencers make all the time. Look at Hub's life and the backlash that he got when he switched up his content. Or there's a couple other influencers recently that have built up a brand, built up an audience, made a ton of money, and then they switch up and then they still expect the same level of support. That's just not how that works. And she was an artist that has a ton of potential, still has potential, but she probably needs a better team. She needs a better team that understands true branding and marketing and knowing your audience and knowing what your audience values and what is important to them, and understanding that if you are going to choose to profit off of said audience, you have to take those things into account, or that can absolutely tank your brand. And that's exactly, I feel like, what has happened with this release. Because 4,000 sales is extremely low for someone who had one of like the #1 songs of the year.
Tyla's album didn't flop because of Black Americans. Tyla's album is flopping because her fans essentially set her up for failure by being xenophobic, especially towards Black Americans, and claiming that we lack culture. After her using the term color to describe herself, a term that is frequently used for her specific ethnic group within South Africa, but is derogatory and roots from racism and slavery in America. Black Americans have single-handedly been the backbone for American music throughout Hollywood and mainstream media forever, essentially. And a lot of genres of music are rooted in Black American culture. So as a foreigner, to not educate yourself on how certain terms that may be familiar to you are not appropriate to use when you are going to another country and when you are trying to assimilate into a new culture is really just a failure on her PR and her management's part.
In 2025, Tyla, fresh off her Grammy and Global Smash Water, launched her follow-up EP, We Wanna Party, expecting another wave of admiration. But instead, reports revealed underwhelming first-week US sales of just 3,700 units, mostly industry insiders considering such a figure as a flop, especially from someone of her caliber. And so people were wondering what went wrong, and the controversy began years earlier in 2020, where Tyla referred to herself as a colored South African, a term deeply ingrained in her home country's apartheid era categorization. And in South Africa, colored is a formal non-pejorative descriptor for people of mixed heritage. But when that resurfaced in 2023, many Black Americans had it through a very different historical lens as a relic of segregation and racism. And what we can see is that the backlash grew rapidly, amplified by social media and a misstep, or rather a silence on American radio. When asked to clarify on the Breakfast Club in June 2024, she declined to elaborate, citing fear, or that is maybe fear of construction, and fans interpreted it as evasiveness. And so we entered the EP launch. Despite strong streaming figures, We Wanna Party racked up tens of millions of plays. The narrative of a flop took hold. So critics and fans debated, was the language controversy to blame? Some Black American audiences began distancing themselves, leading to widespread discourse about identity, respect, and even cultural misunderstanding. And so it wasn't a complete collapse. In South Africa, fans and commentators rallied, some accusing critics of xenophobia, defending Tyla's heritage and her right to self-identify. And analysts urge a more nuanced view. Lower unit sales doesn't necessarily reflect failure in an era dominated by streaming. Although physical and digital sales were low, her streamed numbers tell a different story. Over 60 million Spotify streams, translating to upward of 40,000 album units in US metrics. Yeah, so still in the US, music economy, cultural connection is king. And once key audiences feel alienated, no label push or chart algorithm can fully repair that bond. So Tyla herself later addressed the fallout in media features. She reflected on how deeply unsettling it was to see her identity questioned on a global stage. So she acknowledged that the way people painted me felt overwhelming, yet asked for empathy. I understand that word is a sensitive. I understand that it would be a sensitive word to people. I just would have wanted an opportunity for people to actually truly listen and learn. And as of now, she stands firm. She is both Black and colored in a South African context, and she understands that not everyone will get it, and that's okay. And this isn't just about Tyla's career. It's a microcosm of global artists navigating divergent histories, identities, and even expectations. And one word became a flashpoint. And in a world that values nuance less than headlines, the fallout was immediate.